So happy to see you, and congrats on your book, by the way. Haven't mentioned that also. Yes. I thought of writing a book before, and I know it's going to take a lot of hours of work, right?
1.5 years.
1.5 years.
2024, yeah. Because you need to revise your draft a few times. For things that you are not satisfied with, you fall away and rewrite again. Now that's me, but I'm sure that most of the writers will be quite particular.
So would some information become outdated since it's like taken such a long
window?
No,
you can keep updating it, but your values, your principles, your point of view seldom change, because I don't flip-flop. I'm not that type. I'm not that flexible.
I know you have mentioned very frequently on things that investors should take note of. And what would you be the most cautious of as of this market right now? What kind of marketing messages that you like to highlight?
Most people, they don't really have very strong individual judgment. They would be easily influenced by what other people are talking about, the media, people around, friends, family, relatives. They make up their mind because of what they heard from other people. I think that's very dangerous. So they just based on the headlines of the articles, rather than dig into the raw data itself to analyze what it is, because the data is neutral. It doesn't speak for itself. But if you go deep down and analyze the data, run the data, and you really think, actually, different people can use different ways to interpret the same set of data to their own advantage.
Correct. I know you're a big critic of some data that a newspaper likes to publish. And right now it's like record sales, record figures, growing figures. That's what we see in newspapers.
It's record according to when, What are you comparing with? Yeah.
And they must exaggerate things so that it catches the attention.
Now, but sometimes to be fair, the headline articles, the content itself doesn't align with the headline. The headline is one thing, but the article data is, the content can be another thing.
You would be very skeptical of some of these numbers that are being the rosy numbers. You don't think it's
I'm not skeptical. I'm just neutral. I have analyzed in my own set of data or what I've read from the other international media. They have different point of views.
I've seen for myself also. I think the supply is quite huge, right? What are your thoughts?
In the supply pipelines that have never been improved for the last few years. So in range of 49,000 to over 50,000 for long-rented private residential units in the supply pipelines that never been changed. But the vacancy rate is also very high, especially on the core central region, the CCR. So it's gone up to 11-12%, which is the same as what I've seen in the worst time during the last global financial crisis. By the way, our vacancy rate is calculated by the number of private residential units that's without the PUB bills. So it doesn't count if you still have paid the PUB bills, because you must ask potential tenants or buyers to come and view your place. How can you be without electricity if they come and view at night? But if you're so give up on it, then don't even pay your PUB bills. That is counted as vacant unit, by the way. So our vacant unit is already very lenient compared with what the other countries are doing. But the vacancy is high because the landlords are suffering more high-end, or what you call the luxury market, especially like District 9 and 11, District 4, Sentosa. It's because of our private residential units on the high-end side actually depend on foreigners to buy, and depending on expatriate to occupy it, because you can't ask our 80% of HDB dealers to sell the HDB flat and go and rent all these condominium units. Restrictions on the hiring of the foreigners. And those who left it, there's nobody to fill it up. And even though you can hire people now, they may not be able to come here, and they may not get their approval. That's the problem. So who can occupy all this?
You want to see vacancy rates start to drop. That would be a good sign.
If I'm buying for investment,
for investment.
Yeah, of course we depend on tenants, right? So who's going to pay my mortgage and my maintenance fee every month, and my property tax and my repair costs?
I was thinking, what kind of data that would excite you? I know you'll be looking for some signs before moving big into investing in the property again, and probably tenant rate becoming better is one key sign, because right now it seems like a lot of maybe even viewers are thinking if there's spare cash, rates are low, there's a good chance that it could be an opportunity to enter the market. What would be some advice maybe?
It depends on what you're looking at it when you see rates are low. To me, rates are not really low because I have enjoyed much lower rates in the mid-2000s when the first year is 0 interest rate. But we don't see that in the market. So it all depends how you see it as low interest rate. But even if there's 0 interest rate right now, what I have made from the rental from tenant, is it able to cover the mortgage, and all the outgoings, like
the yield, right?
So that'll be property tax. And is it good enough compared with the other investments that I have, right? If I have made so much effort, spent so much time managing difficult tenants as well, begging for the tenants to take my place, yet the return is so negligible or even negative. What am I doing over here?
Would there be any possible segments be close to being appealing to maybe even for yourself?
But to me personally, I do really think that the high-end market have much better value for money than the other.
You mean the 5M and above? Is that how we segment?
Because luxury? A lot of properties I see in District 9, 10, 11 that launched in 2007, even in 2010, the TOP in 2013, 2015, they have never been even at all. They still at this low level or even lower. That means the owners that bought during that time, they're still underwater. So how can that be, after so many years? Of course, this is a very high profile launch at the time, and then they buy at the future market price. That's another story. But after so long, they're still underwater. So if you look at like some of the prime districts, and then you see, wow, 2002 per square foot only. Compare with what you see the new launch close, and at all the suburb areas can be like near 2,000 per square foot.
Especially the OCR shoebox kind of.
But do you have holding power after you buy it? Because you may need to wait very long. Because after the market goes down and you start going up again, and that is when people will find those that have better value for money. That will be the higher market we start going up first. Investors will see that those areas have better value for money. But do you have holding power? Because right now you can't find very good tenant to pay very good rents. Last year and this year are actually 2 years with the lowest number of units TOP. Why I say that? Because if you remember 2015 and 2016, the market is actually very subdued. And that's the time you have less number of new launches. Because for a project after you launch, you need 5 years to build, right? So it will be one last year and this year that will TOP. So you already have a very minimum number of projects, new project TOP, to compete with your unit, if you're a landlord. So what can I say? Then your vacancy rate is still 11%, 12%. For 12 months, 1 month's rental is gone if you look at that.
Or we have to cut and compete on rental rates. If we really want to fill up the unit, we have to drop rates.
Right now, the best ones that the easiest one is actually your room in your HDB flat in Woodlands.
I'm renting out my HDB actually. It's the market segment, right? Like 2,000.
So you are profiting from. It's a COVID-19 fortune, but whether it's sustainable, nobody can tell.
I think you mentioned something in your book also, which I'll leave links below. You mentioned some things about shoebox units and COVID-19. Can give a glimpse as to what important consideration? Because investors always have that 1M.
To me, for shoebox units, they happens after 2013 when the prices are high, and 2017 and 18 as well, because the developers, they bought the land as record high prices from the government. There's no choice but to subdivide it into as many units as possible. Number one is more profitable because easier to sell and higher per square foot that you can sell. For people who move in, I'm very sure that majority of people who bought shoebox units have never stayed in one before. I've been multiple property landlord, so I know what people will say, tenants will say when they come to view the place. When the rental market is very good, no choice, and when your project is new, agents will bring you to go and see those places. But after that, after a few years, who will go to there? If I can pay a little bit more or even the same price, I can rent a decent 1-bedroom or even 2-bedroom units. Who care
At
about
an
your
older
shoebox
project,
units?
you mean for the same price?
Yeah, and during the COVID-19, people who stay in the shoebox unit, they suffer so much. People will try to move out at all costs. They got to sell it, try to upgrade or just change. Even you stay in a 3-room HDB is much better than shoebox unit. At least you're more space. A lot of foreigners are leaving, so there are a lot more choices. You can see in the listings in the property portals where a lot of them have been listed for
And they don't need to be in CCR also. They can move, I don't know, to East Coast, somewhere where
I think
they can work from home and be
the mentality of people is like in a lot of other countries that you move outside the downtown, out of the city area to somewhere which is a neighborhood district or in the suburb. Singapore is small, but the mentality of people here, I need to move somewhere to more greenery. I can go jogging, exercise, more livable, away from the town. Then that is the East Coast. So that's why if you look at the transactions, you'll see that the most transactions, which is not in proportion to the number of international units, a lot of transactions actually at District 15 near the East Coast, because the mentality is that, I must live near to that. So that's why this is the worst time when you need to consider to move to districts like that. Yeah, because most of people, they're very irrational. They'll think that, let's go and move there. But what about after COVID-19? Nobody knows. They may want to move back to the downtown area because it's easier to go to the workplace, more convenient, more choices, prices very reasonable, more value for money. For these few years, there are so many MRT lines. And by 2030, we have 187 stations. And 8 out of 10 people will be within 10 minutes walk to the station. Actually, by 2030, it is very difficult to find a place that is without access to MRT. You want to somewhere trendy or exclusive, is very difficult in Singapore. You cannot find that anymore. So what makes the difference? The conclusion is, it is not how near your home is near to MRT station, because not all MRT stations are built equal. It's how far is your station away from
the major
workplace. Yeah, the CBD area. Without COVID-19, we're not talking about working from home. We're talking about longer days, right? So it is how far it's near to the interchange. It's easier to get around. Right? Some of them are much further away, and you need a longer time. It's more crowded. You need to have a lot of transfer. You need to wait on the platform for a long time, because you need to depend on the reliability of the public transportation anyway, right? So,
but that will help in the tenancy attraction. Would that?
It depends what kind of tenants you like. You see, tenants is very broad. To me, I'm not interested in the neighborhood district because I used to be foreigner. So I understand what the expatriates want, the one that come with the company contract. They want to be not near to the MR station, because I can take taxi, I can take Grab, right? Don't want to be near to the wet market or hawker center because I don't eat that type of food. It is
so Bukit Panjang wouldn't appeal to them.
Nice restaurants, exclusive greenery, tenants profile in the project. If I'm Japanese, I want to stay with Japanese. I'm European, I want to stay with Europeans. That is common sense, right? Because for a foreigner that needs to survive in a foreign country, I need some comfort. I need to be comfortable. It's to be with people I'm comfortable with, that I can make friends, right? That I can mingle with, that is similar to my lifestyle at home. I'm not here as a tourist to explore the Singapore culture for 1 week. I stay there for 1 year, 2 years, right? But for me, I would prefer number one, company contract. Number two is at least if their own budget, they can commit for a longer period. Because these days,
2 years,
people are comfortable with 6 months, and then sometimes it's like month on month kind of contract after it expire. Yeah. There are a lot of that because you cannot find good tenants anymore. It's good tenants are rare these days.
Mine is at 18 months. Did I remember correctly? My HDB, I did it at 18 months. Thankfully, it fitted.
But there's also diplomatic cost as well that the tenant can exercise, by the way. So it doesn't make much difference. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it is usually, if 1 year is fixed and then another year diplomatic cost. So it's basically is 1 year, right?
I want to also find out a bit better on your book. What other possible insights would you be able to share?
No, the first chapter I would focus on the mistakes that people make, why people lose money. So I think in this market, the property market is very interesting. People will boast about they make money, it's profitable. But
agents will be
people who lose money, they keep quiet.
Correct.
Yeah, but because I'm a broker of individual property broker, I've received a lot of emails and messages from people who lost money and bought the wrong thing.
Correct. Because once they go to a showroom, probably it will be the most optimistic projections, possible upside that will keep them excited about purchase.
Property is something that you buy when everything is good, when you're happy, you see. But after you get it, after you bought, after you move in, there are a lot of unexpected things, a lot of surprises await you, I would say. So that's why I would recommend people to read and study and learn as much as you can, because in all our maybe over 15 years of academic studies, we never study personal finance or investment or how to buy your own home. We know actually we start from zero, but we don't have experience.
Correct. And we don't do that many transactions in our lifetime for most people.
Yeah, most people, they just buy one or two.
Yeah, correct. One or two in a lifetime.
Upgrade HDB to private. That's all. And then you have to stay there all their life. That's why I run workshops on how to buy a good quality property. So that people don't buy the wrong thing, because I went for like hundreds of second-hand flat viewings. I have seen a lot of mistakes that people have made. In this market, it's unfortunately it's not very transparent market. There are a lot of secrets and lies over here. If you're not careful, you will step into the traps. It is a very expensive mistake, because buying a home is probably the most expensive thing that you can commit, and you commit for very long.
Yes.
Very long period of time, like 20,
Can I take a guess? Maybe those low per square foot loft unit, is it? Or some first floor unit very low per square foot, and then they don't make it very livable.
Penthouses, 1 year can lose 11.8 million that type.
That's sorry. Yes. That is quite
the paper saying it will say, oh, wow, penthouses are excellent, people should consider that.
By the way, do you recommend people to separate out the decision making? Because I've heard friends, I buy it first. Maybe I will stay inside. Maybe I'll rent it out. I'm not sure yet.
Because you're unclear, there will be a lot of confusions in the future. I can stay there, or I can I can treat it in investment. They say after the project TOP, the prices go up, I can sell it in an investment, or I can find tenants, they can stay there. If I cannot find tenant, I stay there. But this is very wrong, because what you buy at the price point and consideration as investment is very different from what you buy for your own stay. You buy your own stay, of course, the district I'm familiar with. So because I have the potential to stay there, near to all the amenities, where the children's schools, what I consider as a local, it's a good property, you see. But once you rent it out, you rent it to the worst type of tenants, that is the Singaporeans, that we try to avoid as a landlord. Yeah. So that's why a lot of people, they sell and cut loss. The reason behind is it's not easy to be a landlord. That's always the reason why I sell it, is because it is not easy. Of course, it's not easy. You're not trained to be that. It's just like you are not trained to be employer of a maid. You're not trained to be a landlord in the first place. There are a lot of things you don't know. You make a lot of mistakes, and you suffer enough. You're fed up, and then you sell it. Yeah. Because you want to avoid suffering. And another thing is that if you are buying a place that is originally for investment, you may buy something that's exclusive, but once you stay in it, it's not something that you really close to your lifestyle, you see.
But when you buy a TOP,
you buy on paper also, life, then you're overpaying for it. Why do you pay a premium at District 9, 10, 11, but you yourself stay in it? If you originally want to buy something for your own stay, you don't have to pay that premium. Why do you pretend to be expatriate now as a foreigner? This is not your lifestyle, right? So to me, the two things, they don't mix. Better make up your mind before you do it. If you buy a commercial property, there's no control, because you see the SMEs, they are like all these industries. In these industries, the older owners, they just give up, and quit. And then There are not enough SMEs to occupy those small strata type of factory units. What can you do? You cannot occupy it yourself. You cannot set your own business just to occupy it. In 2013, around that time, there are a lot of courses and training agents how to market commercial properties. Went up factories, units, strata, retail, like Alexandra Central, for example, that people will rush there and submit a blank check to the agent just to buy that unit. But at the end, it's like the units can be vacant for 2-3 years, still nobody occupied, even though you're asking for a rent that not enough to pay for your mortgage. This is a very specialized market. It's more for the professionals, I see. It's not for somebody who's investing for first time. You're not a businessman. You haven't invested in commercial properties. The chance of you fail in this investment is very high, I would say. Yeah. So, and you're trapped.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of insights. Thank you, Veena, I mean, for sharing all this.